Welcome to Smart Women Talk. This is your host, Katana Abbott. I'm a midlife millionaire coach and a certified financial planner, and I search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors and thought leaders who are on that leading edge. So join us for conversations on money, business, health, and inspiration, so you can live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Hello, everyone. This is Katana Abbott, and I want to welcome you to Smart Women Talk. Do you notice our new music? I want to give a special shout out to Detroit Symphony Orchestra trumpet musician Bill Lucas, who has given us the rights to one of the songs on his album, When It Rains. We are beyond thrilled. And you can actually go check out his album on Spotify. And I think he's, wherever you get your music. But I listen to him on Spotify, but we're real thrilled with him. So thank you, Bill. So for those that are new, I have been hosting this show for over a decade. And I have actually interviewed over 450 thought leaders. So just a heads up that you can get our podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to like us, please go to Apple Podcasts. That way you can follow us, and you can rate us on Apple Podcasts. So that would be really greatly appreciated. And for those who like to watch, you can go to YouTube, Katana Abbott, and you'll see all of our shows. We've been doing that for a good year. So you can catch the shows and a lot of other great free resources. Okay, today I am so excited because we are going to be talking with the fabulous website and copywriting team who helped us launch our smartwomen'sempowerment.org site and my beautiful new Katana Abbott website. So you're gonna be meeting Lena Forrey and Holly Williams. They are going to be sharing with us simple strategies to optimize your website design and your functionality for higher conversion, which is so important, and the crucial role that email plays in micro conversion. And if you wonder what is micro conversion, well, listen on, because you're going to find out, and how to avoid those costly mistakes. And it's so important because I messed around for about 10 years before I really got this team, and it just changed everything. So this all sounds technical, but working with these ladies was really fun, and the result was amazing. So I'll always be grateful for these young women. And I'm in my third act, as you know, which is 60 to 90. I mean, isn't that a hoot? So anyone under that is young, but these young ladies are really amazing. And they helped us, and they're going to teach you how to transform your messaging, your branding, and your website presence. So the first guest I'd like to tell you about is Lena Forrey, because she helped us with our online presence. And Lena is a website strategist and brand expert who blends strategy and marketing and design and packaging into such a user-friendly way that it doesn't leave you in tech overwhelm. And she actually continues and helps us run that process. So not only was Lena able to help me create a beautiful and effective website, but during the process, she introduced us to a copywriter named Holly Williams, who's here today too. And Holly was brought in to help us with our story, which is so important, and our messaging. So Holly is an email conversion copywriter who helps clients establish personal brands, connect with their audience, and increase their bottom line through storytelling and high converting sales strategies. So you see, we have a lot to talk about today. And for those of you who are trying to launch your authentic brand, your website presence, your messaging, these ladies are going to be sharing some smart tips that you will be able to implement immediately. And then for those who want to go deeper, we're going to show you how to do that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So welcome, Lena. I'm so excited that you're here today. And we actually started with the Smart Women's Empowerment. And I was so thrilled with that once we finished that site, I had to have you help me with my own personal site. Lena, did I say Holly?
Nope, you said Lena.
Okay, good. There you are, Lena.
I'm here. I'm very quiet. I'm like a
Okay.
tech geek. So I'm like usually in the shadows. My face isn't usually out there.
So do you remember when we contacted you? It was about the nonprofit website.
Yeah. You guys reached out and you were having problems with the site. You didn't really you had an overarching goal, but the site wasn't doing a lot for you guys. And you really wanted to bring up that engagement and really appeal to a specific population that definitely needed all of the services you were providing.
Yeah, and we were really excited because we went from having many, many pages to really putting everything into one page. How common is that? I mean, we were thrilled because we were able to get our whole message pretty much on that homepage, and it was very succinct.
It's so common that people think that the more is better when it comes to a website. And it's actually the opposite. You really want as few of pages, at least visual pages that people can see when they drop on your site, in the menu at the top where it's like, hey, this is your about page. This is your blog. You really just want maybe 5 at the most up there. Otherwise, it becomes really overwhelming for the user. And so really dropping the amount of pages and really centering your guys' content around who you want to speak to was the most important thing we could do with that site.
Yeah, because we started to do an about page and we said, oh my goodness, we don't even need this. And so what we ended up with, though, which turned out really beautiful, was e-learning. And that's where we put the radio show, the academy, and the newsletter archives. So it worked out really well. And I'm just so grateful for that. And it's very pretty. You have a gift with that.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I think it really speaks to your ideal customer.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I wanted to, I know we have, especially with COVID, we have so many people that are trying to launch an online business. And I know you work from home and you have a child. And during COVID, I remember your son was home with you and your husband is a fireman, and it was very stressful. How are things going now? And tell us a little bit about this journey of you having this home-based business and how that worked during COVID, because now a lot of people have transitioned into the type of role you've had all along.
Yeah, I was virtual before COVID, which seems kind of unusual at this point because so many people come to me, oh, you transition. I'm like, no, I've always been virtual with my business. But ironically, COVID hit and it hit some of the businesses I worked for. I worked for a lot of different marketing companies, and it hit them hard because people panicked. They didn't know what to do. And so those marketing companies some of them didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
So the beauty of that is it did force me to go out on my own, and I am doing so much better. And I've really fine-tuned what I do. And I produce a product that is 100% better than I could have possibly done pre-COVID. So thank you, COVID, for that one wonderful thing.
Yeah, but then, and I know it wasn't fun though, when your poor husband at the beginning, they were working them to death.
Oh my gosh, it was
we were all
so
scared.
bad.
Yeah, we were all scared.
Yeah, I was really fearful. My husband he works in New York City at the fire department. So we were hit really, really hard. And I mean, it felt like we were constantly battling this scary thing, like, is the world ending? What is happening here? And he'd come home and say, oh my gosh, this other person has it. Oh my gosh, this person's died. The ambulances are overrun. Everything's just out of control. They were reallocating different firemen to be ambulance drivers because in the city, they don't do that. And so it was just crazy. Some of it's a little gruesome. So I'll stop myself there. But then I was also working from home and my son was here and it was challenging having a 5-year-old kind of over my shoulder being mom, as I'm in Zooms.
And so many people now, because of COVID, are working virtually. A lot of people are moving to other states, and then a lot of people, has business gone up for you because of COVID? Have you had a lot more people wanting websites?
Yeah, honestly, I think people realized that it was their business was at risk, because what happens in another year if something else hits? We have to be able to transition to that online model. Otherwise, your business dies. I mean, there's so many small businesses, especially I'm in the yoga industry a lot, and I've worked in the yoga industry. So I have a lot of friends who have yoga studios. And I would say about 75% of the yoga studios in my area closed because they couldn't make the transition to virtual classes quick enough. So now people are upfront saying we need to make sure that we can transition. Any new business needs some kind of online presence to be able to easily switch gears if they need to.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah. And so I've been using Peloton, which is all virtual, and they have wonderful classes. So it is possible. So, okay, let's talk about the websites. The first thing I wanted to ask you about is this idea of what is a customer avatar, and is it something that we should be aware of?
Okay, so you have now just gone into something that I am constantly talking to my clients about, because I say customer avatar and they're like, birds chirping, staring off into space. I have no idea. She's throwing weird lingo at me. And so I'm always like, oh, no. So think about it this way. You have an ideal customer. So you can think through all the people you've ever worked with and kind of pull out different traits that they all had, whether they're someone for your product and like, this type of person really always does well with my product, or I work best with this type of person. So you know those different characteristics. So we kind of compile your favorite things about various people into one perfect customer who, no matter what happens, they'll see your product and they'll always buy. And then by doing that, you're creating like a stream of revenue no matter what. And then by doing that, it's kind of like going in with your fishing net and going in to get that big, beautiful fish. You cast it in, but you're going to get more than the big, beautiful fish. You're going to get all of those fish that are swimming around that big, beautiful fish. And so because you're catching all of those, you're actually appealing to this bigger demographic because they have so many things in common. So your ideal customer might be a mom with a young infant and all of these things, but they have a bigger circle of moms who might want this product. They'll reach out, they'll be your brand cheerleaders. So as long as you're always appealing to that one person, you then cast that net a lot larger. Then we can also dial in your messaging, like Holly will discuss. You can dial in the design. For instance, when you are thinking about design and you want to talk to that same mom with the infant, you're not going to show a bunch of teenagers or models on all of your imagery in your website. You're going to want to picture moms with infants, or moms struggling, or moms tired, like different things that they personally experience. And you need to visualize for them because you really want to connect to who they are and what they're going through. And you can do that visually so nicely.
Yeah, yeah. And you really did help me with that. Actually, it was the two of you. And we'll talk to, Holly very shortly about how she, and, getting that website, both of the websites done, it increased my confidence so much because going through the process of creating, I guess a highly effective website really does give the owner of that website so much confidence and clarity because they're put through a process as well.
It really defines your brand messaging because you're trying to be 6 different people when you just need to be yourself, and you really need to decide what that is before you even go anywhere.
Yeah, that's great. So could you talk about the customer journey and why it's important to have a process? Because I live by systems, and I was so excited to hear that you really have some systems and processes in place that when you work with the client.
Well, yeah, definitely. So every time I go in with a client, the first question I ask is, what's the goal? Like, why do you need this? And a lot of people are like, I have no idea. I feel like it's expected of me. And so it's about diving into, okay, so what is the goal of the site? Whether it's e-learning, like your Smart Women's Empowerment, or it's really helping women find that third act with the various ways that you coach. there's lots of different ways, but once you establish that goal, then it's really diving into the process, that customer journey of, okay, you have this one goal. How do we move the customers from stage to stage to really get to that goal? And then how do we get those customers who maybe fall off the path and make sure they are brought back into it? And we really do that by, first of all, mapping out how you want the customer to interact with you. So first, looking at where they're coming from. I mean, you're bringing them in from social channels, they're finding you via Google, like you're doing all of these wonderful things out there, but then they get to their website. And if that brand messaging, everything on your site doesn't connect to what you're putting out into the world, that's going to be a hurdle you're going to run into, and they're going to leave your site. So first stage is to really make sure it's cohesive. And then start going, okay, so they've gotten to my website. What do I do now? Where do they go? What do I want them to do? Well, 90% of the time, you want them to sign up for your email list, because no matter how many times people say social media is the new email list, it's not. You still need your email list. So it's about giving them something free, or giving them a free coaching session, or some kind of download to really get them on your email list so that you can keep pushing them down that journey until they actually buy something from you. And I think Holly could probably touch on what happens in those emails when people land on the site.
Yes. Yeah. Holly, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I absolutely can. Thanks. I've just been sitting here just so enjoying the conversation you're having, Katana, because I remember the beginning of this, and we're just so proud to see how far you've come along, and the confidence that you're having. And I hope that speaks to your audience too. There's probably a lot of people who, I think you said you messed around for 10 years before you like, okay, I'm going to do this. But that's the point, right? You can't look backwards and think, oh, I should have done all these things so already. Like, you've got today, start today and move forward. And so I think your story speaks a lot to that.
I wanted to share what I want to clarify what I did for 10 years. For 10 years, I had one brand, Smart Women's Coaching, Smart Women's Empowerment, but it was confusing. And what ended up happening is when I worked with you folks, we moved everything Smart Women into the nonprofit, which is a separate entity. It's a 501c3. And so that really clarified it. And so when I first started with you and you were taking me through that interview process, it was all about retirement reinvention. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was in a branding course and my branding coach pushed me and had the whole class vote about which do you like better, midlife millionaire or retirement reinvention? And everyone except for one person said midlife millionaire. And so this is the magic. You had interviewed me and created all this copy, which I still had access to because we didn't use it all. I went into the copy that you had given me, and I was able to actually completely, change the branding, just, the conversation from retirement reinvention to midlife millionaire, because I knew the women in their third act didn't want to retire. They all wanted to keep doing something, and the word retirement was bad. And so when I did that shift and then gave it to Lena, and then the two of you cleaned it up again, it was like amazing what it did. My practice is full. And, but the main thing, you can see the smile on my face, my energy is different. So I want you to talk about that too, how aligning the brand with the messaging changes the energy as well. Cause it's not just conversion because of a website. It's also the energy is changed. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had been talking a little bit earlier about email. And so we'll get to where all these messages all tie together here, just so I know sometimes I listen to a podcast and hear a conversation go down a trail and I'm like, wait, I want to hear that answer. So we will answer that. But you're talking about, just the messaging and really tying into like you said, the energy. freeing you up, because once you are really clear on your brand message and what you know exactly what you're saying to that ideal customer that Lena talked about, it changes everything, because you're not trying to say a million things. You know your 3 main points that you really want to get across to them. You know their beginning steps. You know the exact things that they need to do in order to move the needle in their own life. So it just frees up your energy, because you're not thinking about all the 1,200 ideas you have around this. You've really streamlined what you want to be speaking about, and then you make a plan on how to execute that. And that can come through that messaging on the website. And then of course, it goes even farther with your email messaging as well.
So I know you said something about 5 stages of awareness. Is that something that you wanted to cover?
Absolutely. So Lena was talking about that customer journey. And so so Lena has a very unique process that she takes you through with the customer journey. And what's great about it is a good conversion copywriter will come along with their understanding of the 5 stages of awareness and marry the 2 together. And so what you'll often see is with the conversion copywriter, we'll talk about what is that stage of awareness that your ideal client is at. Because the 5 stages that you're going to take your client or your future client through is they may be unaware, which is they have no idea they have a problem. So they're probably not on your website at that point. That's where you're using social media, you're using ads, you're using, Facebook Lives, things like that to make them aware that there's a problem. Then they move into the next stage of awareness, which is called problem aware or pain aware. And that suddenly they realize, like, yeah, I really am struggling with this. So we'll use you as a great example. So you were really struggling with your message. You were in a pain aware stage. You were like, I know I need something more. So then you came to a solution aware stage, which was, I know that the solution is I probably need to revamp my website. I just don't know how to do it. So then you started looking for solutions, right? Which is the right solution? You moved into the next stage of awareness, which is product aware. So you became aware of Lena. You kind of looked at some of her work. You're like, you know what? This is the kind of product I want. As you engaged with Lena's brand a little bit, you became what's called most aware, which is like, I like Lena. I like the way she's designing things. This looks really great. You heard about her process and you were like, I'm all in. I want to work with somebody who has a system. And so then you became what is like after the 5 stages of awareness, which is most aware with high intent. You were ready to buy. It wasn't a question. You just knew, like, I have to have this product. So what's really powerful about knowing those 5 stages of awareness is each stage of awareness requires the copy that you write to speak to the ideal client in each stage. So when I'm talking about what the pain is very different when I'm using language about when you're ready to buy, because you have to be taken through that process, that buyer process of awareness where I have a real problem. There is a solution. Oh, and this person is the answer for me. And so when you can have copy that really speaks to each person in each stage of awareness, that's when you start to see high conversions. That's when you start to see your website start to generate those leads. You start to see more hits on your email list and people joining because you're speaking directly to them and to the stage of awareness that they're at in their journey.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. I'm sure everybody listening is really resonating with that too.
Yeah, and it's very exciting because, again, going back to what Lena said, was once you dial into that ideal client and you realize, okay, I have the product, I have the coaching, or I have the solution that they need. Once you've dialed into that person, it really makes the process so much easier to communicate and to them directly. And that's something you can DIY yourself with some of the resources Lena and I are going to give you later, or you can hire people like Lena and I who are professionals and experts in it to really streamline your messaging.
So, okay, and this is probably a Lena question now. What are some of the important features on a website, and like how important is an opt-in process to have some kind of gift that they can opt into, to engage?
It's definitely, I would say it's the number one thing you should have on your website. And it's the number one thing nobody wants on their website. I've had so many clients, well, it seems like it's pushy. It seems like it's just, it's superficial. It's just, I'm just trying to get their email and I don't want to do that. And at the end of the day, you're giving them a solution. The number one thing your freebie should do is to solve that solve that number one problem they're having. Your freebie needs to prove that you are trustworthy and that they should hand over lots and lots and lots of money to you over the next years and years that you guys are working together. That freebie gives you the opportunity to remarket to them, to find more kind of buying habits they have, depending on the way they click through emails and things. You can send them in lots of different directions. You can resell things to them. Like, there's so many opportunities that it often is just the best way and the number one thing you should have on your site. And so solve that one problem, that number one problem they're having, and you have won them over. But other features that you need on your website is you need to essentially tell them where they are. I always see this, people land on a website and they're like, one big, beautiful photo at the top, nothing else. And you're like, okay. And then they're gone because nobody scrolls. People's attention spans are a half a second when they land on your site. So you need to catch their attention. You need to tell them where they're at, why they should trust you, and why they should even bother having your product. All in that space, what we call is above the fold. So anything that shows on your screen before that scroll. And that's the second most important thing. Or actually, I would say that's the number one most important thing on the entire site. And that's often where we put your freebie, because you want to solve that number one thing, but you also need to tell them where they are.
What you said? Repeat what you said. What were the three things? It's like you want them to, when they come to the top of the page, what is it you want them to know immediately?
Where are they?
Right. Okay.
Like, where are they? Like, you end up on a website and you're like, I don't know what's going on, and they leave. So you need to tell them where they are, who you are, why they should trust you, and then solve their problem.
Okay. Wow.
All in like 2 sentences somehow too. It's magical. Those are the things that copywriters are so magical with, because they can get this across in like 3 sentences and you're like, oh my gosh.
Wow, that's amazing. So the opt-in and making sure that messaging is right there at the top. Is there anything else that is important on that website? I think probably some kind of contact page, a way for them to contact you as well.
Yes, definitely a contact page. There's lots of websites that you go through. You're like, oh, I don't know where I am. Okay. Yes, definitely a contact page is very important. It's also very dependent on your industry. Say I did a finance dictionary website, and it's less important on her site for a contact form because people are just going there for like blog posts, right? So it's less important. It's not as prominent on that site. It's still there, but it's not as prominent. So it really depends on what that goal of your site is, of what is the most important thing. The most important thing on your site could just be a series of blog posts on your homepage, depending on what you're selling or what you want to give people or why they're there. Establishing that goal is number one. And then what do you need to put on your site to solve that goal, to accomplish it?
So, there was a point where you had to bring in Holly. What happened there that you said, I was like, we had the colors, we had the gorgeous branding colors, and we had like the design, kind of mapped out. But then I think I got stuck. And if I have to give you, all the content, the copy, I can get stuck. Whereas bringing in Holly, it was kind of magical because she just interviewed me. And I think part of that is she could actually hear, if she knew what questions to ask me, but she could actually hear, I guess, because she didn't know me. She was fresh. And so I think quite often, we get very confused about what we're trying to say, and we're very judgmental about ourselves. Can you talk about this idea of having someone, a copywriter, help, and how that can improve the website?
So copy is the number one thing you should always invest in. And I say that as a designer because the words on your page are what sells. You can put amazing, beautiful images on and do all of these beautiful things, have this gorgeous website, gorgeous branding. But if your words are not conveying who you are, what you do, all these things, it's all pointless. You're just throwing money in a bucket and calling it a day. So when I referred you to Holly, it was because you needed someone to kind of take your ideas and put them into a way that other people really understood and resonated with by taking your story and kind of leading it through that page. But you were definitely you needed structure.
So Lena, is this where you told me that Holly did something called conversational copywriting? Because now I'm thinking about the way she interviewed me. And now when I look at my website, there was like a conversation on there almost.
Well, Holly does conversion copywriting, which I think is probably what you're talking about, but she does the way, and Holly's probably the better one to ask this question.
Yeah.
She's going to be able to explain it a little better than I am.
Well, it's funny though, because I said conversation, it is conversion copywriting, I guess, but there was an essence in there though, of having a conversation with the customer, it seems, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
that's where I got confused when we were doing this, but anyway, so Holly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, conversation is a great way to put it, because I think what I look for anyways, when I'm looking to work with people, is I really try to get to their heart. Like, what is the heart behind why they're doing this business? And for you, it was very easy to see what your heart was. You were really genuinely cared about seeing women in their third act become the most prosperous they could be, unleash those gifts that they had hidden away because they had responsibilities. And just talking with you and seeing your passion for that, it was very easy for me to realize, okay, I know exactly the ideal customer and I know what we need to say to them. These are brilliant women who maybe they've gone different paths. Maybe they've been a career person, or maybe they've raised their children, but then come to a new place where I'm at an empty nest and I took on a new career or a part-time career. And I've got so much to offer the world. I've got all this wisdom. I've got all this knowledge now. And I don't want to just sit in the corner knitting. I want to go and help people with this. And so once we had that conversation, it was very easy to write the copy because we got into the heart and the mind of that ideal client, which are people probably listening today, right? And they're wanting to start that second or third act in their life. And it's totally possible because you've showed them a path and now they're taking action on that path. And anyways, that's just been a really fun journey to write your blog or to write your website that way.
But what is the difference between conversion copywriting and just regular copywriting? I guess that's what we want to.
Yeah.
Is there a difference, I guess?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different copywriting that can be done, right? There's blog posts. You can hire people to copyright your blog post or to copyright ads. Conversion copywriting is focused on conversions or focused on sales. So the end goal of when you work with someone like me is sales. How are we going to get you sales? But that goes back to the beginning. You don't just show up at somebody's door and say, hey, do you want to buy these? We usually slam the door and peep in the face. We don't even answer the door sometimes when we see somebody selling something, right? So you don't want to do that either with your messaging. You want to do micro conversions, which is start the conversation, start this interaction with them and move them along in this customer journey where they know, like, and trust you. And all of a sudden it's a no-brainer to hand over money to you because I've established a trust that you are the person who's going to solve my problem, or your product is the product that's going to solve my problem. And I'm really excited to experience that. Rather than just coming straight up and saying, hey, look, you need to buy something. So a conversion copywriter is someone who specializes in taking your ideal client by the hand and walks them through that journey verbally with the sales messaging on your website and then through the emails that you put out.
So now you're talking about the email. So how does
Mhm.
the micro conversion, how
Yeah.
does that fit in? And what does it first of all mean, a micro conversion? Because I saw it
Yeah.
on your website. And how does that fit into the whole email process and this conversation that you want to start?
Right. Yeah. So I guess if you're looking at like your interactions with your ideal client, you can kind of consider your website is like your business card, and then your emails is that phone call that says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And then that touchstone that keeps happening and builds that relationship farther and farther. So a micro conversion is just getting them to say yes. Just getting them to say yes to you. So that first yes is what Lena talked about, getting them to get that opt-in. You can have my email address and I want that solution. That's your first yes. Then when you're in the email, it's getting them to open the emails. Maybe your next couple of emails will not be asking for a sale, but just saying, hey, here's some valuable information. Here's 3 tips on how your business can thrive. Here's, going back to that mother and toddler example, like here's 3 quick dinner solutions, right? You're giving some value and you're getting them to click on those things, say yes to you. Those are all micro conversions. And then once you have a habit of micro conversions, which yes, I'm saying yes to Katana, I'm saying yes to these things that you're talking about continually, then it becomes really easy for me to say yes when you're like, hey, do you want to join my program? Hey, do you want to join, this 6-week mastermind? It becomes very easy because I've been saying yes all along, and you've brought me from a place I was before to this new place of transformation that I know if I join your course, or if I know if I take this product, it will bring the transformation in my life that I really am after. So that's what a micro conversion is. And it's done many times throughout a website and then many times throughout email as well.
So either of you can answer this. How does storytelling, how does that play and work its way through establishing your brand?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at this first, Lena, and then you can go. So storytelling is really important because that is how we communicate just in general in society. Is we all love stories from the time we're children to the time that we're older. We all want to hear stories. We're engaged with them. And so just having a story, now whether that's your brand story as a whole, like how your brand is going to take them on a journey from point A to point B, that is a story in itself. But also especially as working as a personal brand like you, Katana, I would love to hear emails about like, wait a minute, you ran what was the company you used to run? Didn't you used to run an investment firm or something?
Yeah, at Ameriprise Financial or American Express Financial Services.
Right. Yeah. So if you started off an email saying like, as a woman who was doing something that wasn't common for women to be doing, and you told me one of your anecdotes where you had to take a bold step in an environment that was mostly male dominated, I'd be all over that. I'd want to read that, that's a cool story. And then you talk about how that strength, that when you took that bold step, even though you were scared, you knew it was the one you needed to take, gave you the confidence today, now as a woman in her 60s, to say, you know what, I need to take this step. And I'm still scared, but I've taken steps before when I'm scared and I saw the results. So I'm going to take the step again. Will you take the step with me on my when you coach with me, right? If you took somebody through that journey in an email where you told them your story from the past and then told how it related to today's product and then invited me into that story, I'd be clicking yes. I want to be on that story with you, right?
And that's why whenever I interview someone, I always try to get their story.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's so important. And we miss that with you.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll give it the really quick snapshot, and maybe this will be inspirational for some of the women who are listening. So I actually wrote a book and I needed to promote that book. It was, I won a fiction award and wrote this book and I had no idea how to market it. So then I took a course on marketing and found, I really love copywriting. So I ended up just completely diving into that. And it was a great time that you and our paths crossed, as I had mentioned when we first connected. At age 40, I left a very unhealthy marriage and left everything and started with $0 and had to start brand new and build my whole life up. And it was hard work, but within 2 years, just the incredible turnaround in my life has been amazing. And so I hope that's encouraging to some of your listeners who may be, you know, in that third act and feeling like I didn't save up enough for retirement or I haven't done enough. Like you're in a great position. There's still time. You can do things. It's, you know, the work that you can do in 5 years compared to 1 year, of course, is going to be a lot more, but you can do so much difference in 5 years than you can in one. And just to keep doing it, keep going at it. So that's my snippet of a story there.
And okay, so we're coming to the top of our hour. And Lena, did you want to add anything else?
I am good. I would like to maybe we kind of put together something kind of special.
That's what I was
Holly,
hoping. Yeah.
yeah. Holly and I got together and so people struggle to write their homepages. As Katana, I'm sure you remember, it's hard. It's hard to do the writing. And so I was experiencing a lot with my clients was, oh gosh, I need to give something to them. Not everyone can afford a conversion copywriter. I mean, it's just the reality. And so I was like, I need something. And so I'm like, Holly, I need something. And she's like, I don't know. And we finally like put our heads together and she created this beautiful copy workbook, and I'll let her talk about that. But I created the companion item because we had to show what that looks like on a page. Right. So we needed to let people visualize how that would work on their website, which is really a struggling point for anybody who's doing these like templates and stuff. It all just seems very abstract. So we put all of her example copy into an actual homepage template that you can download. It's an Elementor template. So if you are not familiar with Elementor, it's part of WordPress and that kind of website-y stuff. It does come with a nice little short course on actually how to add it to your website, just in case you want to. But it's this great companion to the lovely work she did, and I'll let her finish off there.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a great idea Lena had. And it's just basically, it's a starting point, right? For so many people, it's like, where do I begin? And so I do want to preface it, you know, it's not one of those, okay, like in 10 minutes, you can slap this up and have it up there. It's about 2 hours of work that you're going to put into this to really carve out that message that Lena and I were talking about. But it is framed with what I call my story flow method, which is to help people go through what is called the feel. How do you want them to feel? What do you want them to learn? What is the option you want them to take? And then how do you want to wow them? And so I'll take you through my complete story flow method that helps you create a real deep feeling that they're going to have. So you might want to make them feel inspired, or you might want to make them feel grounded. So there's different feelings that you can pick. And then based on that template, you can write the sections to best represent your product or your coaching or whatever it is that you're doing. And you can lay it out on the page and using Lena's beautiful design. And yeah, we'd love to see what you come up with. And you can download that at hollycwilliams.com /smart. And we'll have the link, I think, with the show. And then Lena, what link are you giving for this?
It's the same link, except for it's with my name. Ironically, they do.
Yes, lenaforrey.com.
So spell it. I want you to spell both of these out, because Holly, don't you have a C in yours?
I do. It's Holly. So HOLLYCWILLIAMS.com /smart.
Awesome. Okay. And what about you, Lena? Why don't you give out the site?
My website is lenaforrey.com /smart. And you spell that LENA F like Frank ORREY.com /smart.
Fantastic. Ladies, this has been so much fun.
Yes.
Super fun. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to come on and to do this today and to make such a wonderful gift. So we'll have to talk about putting that gift in the Smart Women's Academy as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Do it.
Doesn't that sound like a good one? We don't have anything like that. So okay, so everyone, first of all, I want to thank both of you for being here. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
so much.
Absolutely. And I hope, and I know that we have given everyone lots of great tips that they can implement immediately. So wonderful. Thank you. So everyone, I want to thank you for being here on Smart Women Talk and being one of our guests. And if you come to the YouTube page and you watch the show, be sure that you like us there and subscribe. And for all of you that love the podcast, please come to our Apple podcast page where you can like us, you can rate us, and you can make I guess a rating is what we're looking for, because we've had that page for so many years and we've forgotten about doing that. So please come to our page and just rate us and also like us. And if you would like to be on our mailing list, what we've been talking about today, we have a really rich e-zine called Smart Women, Smart Choices. It's just once a month, but what you end up with is, you know, who our guests are. And we give you details on that. We have articles and all kinds of free events that are going on. And then once you become a member, and the membership is free at smartwomensempowerment.org. The membership is free. Once you become a member, you can go to the Smart Women's Academy and take all kinds of classes for free. Classes on money, on your career, on your relationships, and of course, on your business. So until our next show, go out and live with more purpose, more passion, and prosperity. Smart Women Talk is brought to you by Smart Women's Empowerment, a 501c3 nonprofit project of United Charitable. Music by Bill Lucas from his album, When It Rains. Available on Apple Music and Spotify. Catch us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to join our free community at joinsmartwomen.com to access all our free Smart Women resources.